Chapter 5, Sparks in the Shadows. By the time they reached Hollowmere, night had settled hard over the valley. Cold fog clung to the marsh edges, and fever lanterns burned in the windows of the old chapel that now served as an infirmary. The rebels moved quickly, unloading medicine crates beneath awnings while villagers formed quiet lines in the mud. No cheering. No songs. Only relief too tired to speak loudly. Rowan directed the distribution with clipped precision. Tinctures to the chapel first. Dried willow bark to the north row. Keep the powders dry. Mara vanished into the infirmary with 2 healers and an armful of wrapped vials. Bran took inventory by lantern light and muttered numbers under his breath like a prayer. Elira stood in the chapel doorway and watched a mother press a damp cloth to her son's forehead. The boy could not have been more than 7. "He'll hold now," the healer said, opening one of the crates Rowan had stolen at the bridge. "This medicine buys us time." The mother looked at Elira, then at the rebel marks on the crate. "Tell your captain thank you," she whispered. Elira glanced across the muddy yard where Rowan was lifting sacks from a wagon as if he had no right to be exhausted. "I will," she said. When the last crate was sheltered and the worst cases had been treated, the rebels withdrew to a stand of fir on the high side of the village. Camp rose in practiced silence: tarps, rope lines, cook fire, watch posts. Rain started again near midnight, thin and steady. Rowan stood beneath a canvas lean-to, hands braced on a map table, rainwater sliding from his hair to his jaw. He had removed his gloves and was rubbing at a blood-dark scrape on his knuckles like he did not notice it. Elira stepped under the canvas beside him. "You are bleeding," she said. "It is nothing. That has become your favorite lie." He glanced at her, tired and almost smiling. "I have more impressive lies, if needed." She took a clean strip of cloth from the table supplies. "Sit. That sounds like an order." "It is." For once, he obeyed. He sat on an upturned crate while Elira cleaned his knuckles with careful, stubborn focus. Rowan watched her face, not her hands. "You did well in Hollowmere," he said quietly. "I carried boxes and kept out of Mara's way." "You kept a fever line calm while people were afraid," he replied. "That matters more than sword work." She tied the bandage and met his eyes. "You keep saying that." "Because it is true." Outside the lean-to, wind moved through wet pines. From the lower camp came the muffled clink of bowls and a low murmur of voices. Elira did not step back. "At the ridge," she said, "you told me trust was not the only reason you kept me at your side." Rowan's expression stilled. "I did." "Was that another one of your impressive lies?" "No." The word was quiet, but it landed with weight. She swallowed. "Then tell me what it was." He rose slowly, close enough now that the space between them felt charged. "It was a bad idea," he said. "And poor timing." "That is not an answer." "It is the safest one." "For whom?" "For both of us." Elira held his gaze. "I did not leave the palace to keep living by safe answers." Something in him gave way at that. He reached up and touched her cheek, thumb resting just below her eye as if asking permission and afraid of the cost of receiving it. She leaned into his hand. That was all the permission either of them needed. Rowan kissed her. Not tentative. Not rushed. Like a decision delayed too long. Elira caught the front of his shirt in her fist, steadying herself against the rush of heat and rain-cold air and the sudden certainty that there would be no returning to what they were before this moment. He drew back first, breath unsteady. "Elira. Do not stop because you are afraid of me," she said softly. "I am not afraid of you." "Then what?" He gave a short, breathless laugh that held no humor. "I am afraid of wanting this when men and women are sleeping in mud because of choices I make." Her hand slid from his shirt to his wrist, fingers closing around his pulse. "Wanting something human does not make you less worthy of leading them," she said. It makes you human enough to remember what you are fighting for. For a long beat, he said nothing. Then he kissed her again, slower this time, as if learning her by touch. When they finally parted, his forehead rested briefly against hers. No vows. No promises they could not keep. Only breath shared in the dark. Only truth. A twig snapped outside the canvas. Bram's voice floated in from the rain. Before I walk in and traumatize all parties, are we doing logistics or feelings? Elira laughed under her breath, flushed and helplessly smiling. Rowan closed his eyes for 1 second, then looked toward the tarp edge. Logistics, he said dryly. Excellent, Bram replied. I am emotionally unprepared for the alternative. The moment broke, but not badly. Rowan straightened, then looked back at Elira. This cannot make you less careful, he said. It will not. And if this puts you in greater danger dash. Rowan, she said, gentle but firm. I was in danger the day I was born into that palace. He stared at her, then nodded once. Fair. They stepped out beneath the trees where the campfire burned low and watch rotations changed. Bram stood with a ledger tucked under one arm, visibly relieved to talk about anything practical. Scouts report a crown sweep east of the marsh, he said. Too far to hit us tonight. Maybe close by noon tomorrow. Rowan was already back in command mode. We break camp at first light. 2 groups. Medicine runners south with Mara. Main unit north through the fur cut. And me? Elira asked. With me, Rowan said, then amended, en route coordination with Tomas.